So I'm Kyle Johns, and I'm a principal engineer at Tableau. Been there for about 7 years.
Yeah, and I'm Denny Bromley. I've been there just about 4 years now, and I'm a dev on the visualization team. Yeah, so we're going to show you lots of cool stuff.
And we're showing hackathons here, but this talk is a little bit of a hack itself. We have a lot of demos to show. So if for some reason we get talking over here and we're talking about a demo and you're seeing a slide, raise your hand and let us know that something has gone horribly wrong, and we'll fix it.
The magic is we actually have like 6 builds of Tableau with like private bits from individual dev boxes on this machine, which is part of the magic. So yeah, we're excited to show it to you.
Things might blow up. We'll see. All right, so what we're going to cover today is just spend a couple of minutes and talk about what the hackathon, our internal hackathon at Tableau, is all about. We're going to talk about some hacks that actually graduated to become part of the product that you may have actually used in the past. And then we have 6, maybe 7, but probably 6 hacks that we're going to show you today. And they're exciting and fun from a lot of different areas. And then we're going to give you a chance to vote on your favorite. And this was interesting last year because we did this talk and people were really excited about a particular hack, which I think was Tableau and PowerPoint. And that's actually a feature this year. So you never know what can happen. I'm not going to make any guarantees, but be sure and vote at the end and let us know things you're excited about.
Okay, so what is a hack? This is usually what people think of as a hack, and it's somebody coming in over Wi-Fi trying to take over your computer. That is not what we're talking about. Really what we're talking about is people in the dev org, and that can be devs, PMs, and kind of anybody who's in the dev org thinking, hey, Tableau could really be improved in this way, or hey, I need some training, or hey, we just want to use Tableau, and just sort of push the boundaries of whatever that is. And twice a year, we take a week and just go nuts. You show up and people hack the code, or people do everything. We've had people do art. In fact, if people have seen these t-shirts around, I don't see any in the room right now, that say scatterplot. It's got like a cat and a bunch of like kittens, like whatever. That was actually Carissa's hackathon project, and so now those are TC t-shirts. So that's what a hack is. And here's a picture of at least a subset of the devs, and yeah, that's pretty much what we're talking about today. So
we were talking earlier. I don't think anybody's actually done interpretive dance as a hack. But now that we talked about it, I'm kind of tempted.
Yeah, I would.
Viz through interpretive dance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If the demo went down yesterday morning, I was going to have to be forced to go down that road. So it's fortunate for y'all that didn't happen.
Let us all be grateful that the devs on stage. By the way, you might have noticed that Denny was on devs on stage yesterday. He did a great job there. Didn't crash anything.
Nothing burst into flames, including me, which was a plus. Yeah, so here, just to let you know that this is actually kind of one of the engines of innovation at Tableau. And these are some of the previous hacks that are literally now in Tableau. So data blending, dashboard objects, Tableau server on Linux. And if you heard Adam talk just a couple of days ago, our CEO, Adam, now a quarter of all Linux server installations are Linux. Custom table calcs, copy and paste step lines came in just a couple years ago. Heat maps. Interactive color encoding we showed last year, and you can now do it with set actions.
And actually, this was a demo that Denny wrote that we showed last year, and now that functionality is part of Tableau.
Yep, and now it's in Tableau and PowerPoint, which actually won this voting thing last year, and we went and did it. Parameter actions, which you may have seen yesterday, was a hackathon about a year ago, and that'll be coming in early next year. So not only is this where stuff comes from, but we listen to you guys. So please speak up, go on the customer forums, vote, whatever it is.
So lest we get you too excited about this, some of these hacks are fun to look at and they're fun to think about, and maybe you're going to think, oh, this is something I need right now. The sad fact of the matter is not every hack becomes a feature. Really, there's a lot of work that goes into taking a hack and turning it into a real feature. Most of the hacks that get done work along a very narrow little workflow. If I just do this just like this and connect hard-coded to this server over here, then it just works. And in order to make it general so that it doesn't crash when you want to use it and it works in every situation you want, there's actually quite a bit of work that goes into it. And then adding a lot of tests and adding a lot of documentation and everything else that goes into it. So we really have to be mindful about where we invest our time So whether it makes it or not, let's just have some fun with this today. We can show you some fun things and get your reaction, and then go back to the customer forums and tell us what you really want to see. So here are the hacks that we're going to show off today. These were all done internally by Tableau developers. The first is Geospatial Calcs. The second, binning transformations. We have a great demo which shows a Tableau viz inside Tableau prep. Unfortunately, we're having some server connectivity issues, so that one's kind of iffy. We may not be able to show that one. We'll wait and we'll check right at the moment and see if we can talk to the server. And if not, we might have to skip that one.
That'll go to the dance thing.
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to have to dance if we can't do that one. No one wants to see that. Calc editor hacks, we have some. Anybody here write calcs?
Hey!
Oh, all right. Well, you'll like some of these things.
You're going to like this stuff.
That's good. There's some fun calc editor hacks, some kind of simple ones. There's a demo that's not even in Tableau at all. It's a hack on Windows Explorer. Visual undo, and finally, your viz in 3D. All right. So let's start right off. Geospatial Calcs. I feel kind of sophisticated even saying that. This hack was done by Rodion Detlar. He's a senior software engineer, and he works on our maps team. And he thought it would be really cool to give calc writers a way to do geospatial calculations, calculations that depend on geometries in the database. Do you ever have a question you want to ask, like, how many customers do I have that live within 5 miles of this store, or 1 mile of this freeway? Or how about how many people live within 10 miles of this town? Lots of common questions. Well, geospatial calcs give you a way to answer them. Here's the first one. This is a way to draw lines from one geometry to another. Let me actually show you the destinations that we're drawing to. Grab destination here. Okay, so these are all a bunch of different airports in the world, and they're just geometries at a specific point on the map. What we would like to be able to do is to be able to draw a line, a great circle line, from one point on the globe to one of these destinations. So let me show you how that works. Here's our flight path field, and let's just go in and see the calculation. You can see here that Rodion has added a function in our calcs language called stMakeLine. It takes a geometry object as an origin and geometry as the destination. In this case, destination is a column of geometry objects. And when let me drag that back here onto, you can see that it actually draws the great circle line. So this answers the great question of why, when I fly from Seattle to China, I end up flying up around Alaska. Makes it a lot easier to see what flight paths might look like. Okay, here's another one, another hack that he added to our calc language. This answers the question that I talked about before: how many of my customers live within a mile of my location? By the way, since this is a hack, right now the origin location is hard-coded to the center of Seattle. But obviously, if this turned into a real feature, you'd be able to specify where the origin is. So you can see here we have a parameter, and I can specify, show me all of the geometries within 11.6 miles. I can also say, show me only those that are between 6.7 miles and 11.6, and I can quickly see, that's 3,404 marks. We have this field here on our filters. Let's go ahead and take a look at that and see what it is that he did. It's distance. And we go and take a look at that, and we can see that he has a new function here in the calc language called stDistance that takes a collection of geometry in your current location, and it filters out the ones that don't match the filter function. So a way to quickly answer exactly which customers live within a certain distance. You can also use that not just with points, but with lines. Here we have some geometry objects that represent highways. If I wanted to ask the question, which of my customers live within 1 mile of State Route 520, this will show you exactly that set of customers, and there is So you can ask questions about not just points, but other geometries as well. Okay, let's see here. Another interesting one is he has a convex hole function that he added to the calcs language. A convex hole is like taking a rubber band and stretching it around your data, and the shape that the rubber band forms on the data in your map is the convex hole. So you can see here, we have a convex hole object which is generated around all of these points that are houses in the Seattle area. I can actually have it generate a convex hole on, let me take here zip code, and actually try it on this one, sorry. And you can see that it's generated a convex hole for each of the individual zip codes. So you can quickly visually see which of my customers are within a particular zip code. And actually, in this particular case, you can quickly see that there's one data point error where you've got an address which has the wrong zip code, because you can see the zip code is reaching clear down in there. So anyway, this is geospatial calculations. This is a way for you to add calculated fields which tell you information about your data geographically, geometrically, geospatially. So that's Rodion's hack. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
So drawing the line with the great circles.
Uh-huh.
That's fantastic. I was wondering if that could also be extended to just like non-geospatial stuff. So what I often have to do, what I often find in my data is I get like, you're plotting a scatter plot. I have like start points, x and y coordinates, and end points, x and y coordinates. And now to connect those up with a line, I have to have two lines for data, some kind of data transformation.
Mm-hmm.
Half ideal. But what would be amazing is if you could have that kind of make line function for non-geospatial as well. Is that something people are playing around with?
Okay, so the question was, could you use this make line function, or it would be really cool if you could use this make line function for even scatterplot data. And as your scatterplot data, the position is lat long?
No, this is just an x and y.
Just x and y. So you'd like to be able to specify some arbitrary function to join lines, or?
Straight lines, or just
Yeah.
join these two dots up without having to transform the data to
That's a great suggestion. I like that. I don't think anybody's hacked that or implemented it yet, but it's actually a really interesting suggestion. That would be a great candidate for the customer idea forum. We're going to give you a link to that customer idea forum. So if you have some ideas that come to you as we're going through this, please post those on the forum. We do look at those. I think Denny's going to show you some demos here in a few minutes that were just basically hackers just went down the customer ideas forum and said, I'll do that one and that one and that one. So we do pay attention to it.
Yeah, we pay a lot of attention to those. So yeah, be very vocal, and I promise you'll be present in all of our dev meetings. So yeah. Okay, so the next hack we're going to take a look at is actually binning transformations. And so this was Roger Dubs and Tianye Liu. And let me show you. Should I cancel this out?
Yeah.
Okay, so so let me launch this. And so what this is they actually inserted an additional step in the Tableau rendering pipeline and did graphical binning. So let me just show you here real fast. So this is using the same obesity data that's shipped with the product as one of the examples. And we've got about a little over 3,100 marks here. And it's a scatter plot. And for example, something we shipped, which was actually a hackathon, we shipped recently, which is density marks. And so you can view it like this. And so that's actually basically showing you a 2D histogram in some sense, using color to show you where the densest parts are. And so an alternative to that is what Roger and Tianye did, which is to do graphical binning. So we've got about 3,100 marks here. And I can actually chop up the space into little rectangular grids. And now we have each of those marks has basically aggregated everything within one of those grid areas. And now this is a regular grid, but another thing we can do is we can actually do centroid binning, where it actually puts that aggregate mark at the center of mass of the marks that went into that bin. And because it's aggregating those marks, it knows about those marks. So you can take the number of records, for example, and put it on size. And you can even take number of records and put it up on color. And now you're beginning to have that same effect as a density mark. But what's really nice about this is if you look in the lower left, there's only 746 marks. So it did a huge amount of data reduction. And so now you can drill in and you can get a lot of the same data, but it's actually just a lot less stuff to push around. And because it's doing the graphical binning, even as you zoom in, it will rebin for you so you can continue to kind of keep looking at your data at whatever scale you're interested in. So that is the graphical binning. It's pretty straightforward, and if you like density marks, this is another good contender for all those same situations.
All right, on to,
Close that up.
yeah, I'll do that. Okay, our next viz, I think, is a viz in Tableau Prep. So this is the one that we're having a connectivity problem with our server, but this was done by Jeff Raymakers at Tableau. And Jeff's sitting in the back here. I don't want to say it's his fault if the demo doesn't work, but I mean, he is here. No, absolutely not his fault. He has a very cool hack. Let's give it we can give it a try and just see if something has miraculously happened. If not, that I'll just quickly describe it and we'll move on. But so the idea behind this, how many of you used Prep already, by the way? It's fairly new. So we've got a couple who've used it a little bit. So part of the problem is a lot of times as you're going through and you've got a flow in your Prep, at some intermediate point, you'd like to be able to say, what does my data look like right now? And there is a way to export your data to Tableau, and then you have to go off to Tableau in a separate window and take a look at your data. Jeff's hack is really cool. It gives us a way to actually look at that data in a viz right here inside Tableau Prep. I'll actually be amazed if this works, but.
It's a good thing you brought his dancing shoes.
Well, it's acting differently, but it's not working. So anyway, the idea there was that you can just stay in your prep flow and then you can see exactly what your data is as you're manipulating the data. As you improve it, you go back down to your viz window and you see exactly what that improvement had. Totally awesome. Wish I could show it to you, but it was a great hack.
Okay, so again, let me just take a quick pulse here. So how many people in the room use calculated fields or like write their own calcs in Tableau? Got? Yeah, okay. You're gonna love this one. All right. So this next whole batch is for you. Well, and it's for everybody actually because they're actually making calcs easier. So for the rest of you, it's to also help you along too. But we're gonna take a look at these.
Actually, that's the part of the hack that I like the best, is part of the hack that he's going to show you actually holds your hand and walks you through creating a calc. So even if you're not a great calculated field writer, this will help you and tell you exactly what you need to do.
Okay, so we've got some data here, and you can see that along the horizontal axis, it's chopped up into 4 different types. And along the vertical axis, we have literally called a really complicated business calculation. And that's on the top. And then on the bottom is simply a copy of that we'll be editing. And I'll show you what this really complicated business calculation looks like. And so you can see like it's pretty complicated. It'd probably take you a little while to go through and kind of grok what's going on. And it's not in any way helped by the fact that there's this gigantic number in there that's sprinkled all over the place. So what Nick did is Nick added in this let functionality, which may be familiar to you. Oops. Which may be familiar to some of you if you've used other languages, like Java or C# or any of these. And I'm just putting in the basic kind of like framework for the let syntax here. And so now what I can do is I can define local code, and that can be variables or it can be functions that's scoped to this. And you can do that already in Tableau today if you like take a variable and like put it in a parameter, or take a variable or another function and put it into like another calculated field. But then your data pane along the left starts sort of bloating out. So what I can do here is I can simply, this is just an arbitrary variable name. So I can say measure, for example, equals to this thing. And now that that's in place, I can replace this with that. And so my code starts becoming considerably nicer. And I won't bother to replace all of these, but you get the idea. And so now if you watch the viz on the left, as I hit apply, it stays the same,
Magic.
which is perfect, which is
Nothing
exactly what
changed.
you want, but your code has been dramatically simplified. And in fact, another thing you can do is it doesn't have to be only simple variables. So here's an LOD calc, and I'll just cut that out of there. So I can say LOD equals that whole thing. And now I can just put that right in there, and I hit apply, and it stays the same. Yes, ma'am?
Is the end at the bottom with the let, like, is that part of the
Yeah, so the let syntax is you're saying, let all of these things equal these things to be used in this scope, and then you end that scope.
Okay, and then, so you could have multiple lines, the let,
This is fantastic. This is fantastic. Yes, and in fact, what a beautiful segue to the next part I was going to show you, which is where we have multiple lines. So let me edit this one, and so you can see exactly what you're asking here. So this really is akin to writing more and more and more sort of dependent subqueries. And then really, on some level, this is the actual calculated field. But you were able to write out your code in like a meaningful and understandable way as you went through.
It's a one-line calc.
It's a one-line calc that only takes a dependency on the previous 10. Yeah. So I love this one. As a programmer, 90% of what a programmer spends his or her time doing is like making sense out of this 2 million lines of code. And this is a huge step in that direction. So this is one of my favorite hacks. But we have more hacks to show. And and now literally, okay, so the great part about this, this was Dave and Christian, and one of the great parts about this is literally where they went down the user forums, and they were just like, we're just going to knock out a ton of these. So what do people want to do? So I'm going to open up this calc right here. And so one of the things that people really want to do is they like commenting, because it helps you keep your world in order. And previously, the comments were kind of gray and hard to see, and so now they're green. It's just easier to see. It's actually more consistent with sort of other programming tools out there. This was actually a big hit on the user forums, and it's a fairly small thing, so vote for these things, and we are listening. Now, sometimes you want to comment a lot, so you'll say things like, wow, this is a really long comment. It's pretty awesome typing in front of a lot of people, because it's definitely a spectator sport. And so, you have these things, and what's sort of nice sometimes is you can actually just take this and say, you know what, I want that whole thing commented out. Or if you have a huge block of code that you kind of want to knock out for a section where you're looking at something else, you can just comment that whole thing out. And of course, then you can just bring it back all in together, and you're off to the races. Or if you want to, you can uncomment it, and you can now do, well, in this hack, you can now do multi-line comments, kind of more akin to C++ or Java or these if you're used to it. So that's a big one. And then also, again, this is just really helping out people with things. We now, this hack shows better kind of brace matching, so you can actually know where you are. It works both on parentheses and, like, for example, curly braces in LOD Calc, so you kind of understand the scope of where you're writing.
Love it.
Yeah. So it's these little things, right? It's these little things that are like either awesome or you're like beating your head against your desk at 2 in the morning. And we genuinely want to help you get there. Calculated fields are like one of the most powerful things in Tableau, and we want to help make it as easy as possible for you to use them.
It's also a great example of sometimes a small idea has a big impact. So if you had a small idea for a slight improvement in Tableau, putting it on the customer idea forum, first of all, if it's simple, it's more likely to be picked up in a hack or as a feature. And sometimes, like we say, the simplest things make the biggest impact.
Yeah, the kind of like value per like unit dev and test time is huge for these kind of things. So now also, sometimes when you're writing calculated fields, you take a dependency on another calculated field, right? Where you write one, then you write another one which references that one, and you end up with this kind of chaining. And so another thing that they added was, as you're going through here, you can actually see you can see the underline there. You can actually see which calcs you're actually referencing. And in fact, if you click on it, it'll actually take you to an editor for that calc. And it's a full editor, and you can sit here and edit it. And then when you're done, you can actually go back. And so you can walk through your code, particularly when you're debugging somebody else's code. It's helpful to see those chains as they go through. And of course, since developers, when you're in college and you're doing all your programming at 2 in the morning, and then that behavior carries through the rest of your career, it's nice to be able to be programming at night. And since these are developers who are developing these hacks, this is the kind of thing that they think of. And so, for example, you can also do your dark mode as well. So those are all of the kind of C++ level hacks in the actual product itself. So this is just a keystroke for the hack. Now these aren't actually in the product though. So all these that we're launching, these are all hack builds, 100%. These are like private bits off like Jeff's machine,
But if you totally like it, mention it.
Mention it, absolutely mention it.
Particularly since, having a key combination that changes the background of the calc editor is a fairly minor thing. It doesn't involve quite as much testing and feature integration as some of the other things we're going to talk about today. So it's a good candidate to get it in there if we have enough people that are excited about it.
Yeah, and I want them, and they listen to you more than they listen to me. Yeah. So please speak up. So this one is really interesting. Ginger is one of our super senior UX designers. And so this hack is actually in a UX design tool. It looks a lot like Tableau, but it's not actually Tableau. And so what's great is this is sort of the example of, during Hackathon, people use the tools that they know and that they're most powerful with. And so Ginger thought it'd be really cool if she could discuss ways of making calcs more accessible to non-programmers. So what we can do here is, where am I here?
Which, by the way, I love this because whenever I have to write a calc, I have to go look at somebody else's calc so I can remember what the syntax is and how to put things together. I love something that'll kind of lead you by the hand and help you a little bit.
So yeah, so this is using, so Ginger is a Broadway musical nut, and so this is the data set that she uses for everything. And so her idea here is we can click on category, and we're going to use category to create a calculated field. And so this is fine. This is kind of where you are today, more or less. But the first thing she envisioned was this sort of drop down here, which would use the sort of Tableau prep sort of methodology of showing you these sort of high-level summaries, so you actually know about the data that you're busy writing the calc about, so you have some sense of what you're talking about. And so we can leave that open, and then what we can do is we can come over here, and so for instance, you might have this, you can use the if construct in our language. And so there's a sort of extended documentation here, which shows you what's going on. So if you're just writing a calc, it's a little more explanatory. Or she sort of has this Legos tab. If any of you have used sort of the drag and drop languages like Kodu or any of these sort of things, what you could do is you could click on this, and now the code is gone, but you have the sort of graphical interpretation of it. And you can see over here that the documentation has changed to show you. Now you're sort of in this drag and drop building block kind of land. So for example, I could click on this true false, and what that does is it instantly filters the various commands that I can use to those that return a Boolean, those that can actually be used in a true-false environment. And so I can say, oh, here's contains, and again, I have the documentation on the right, and I can actually just pick that up and drop it in the true-false area. And again, I'm building out this if construct. I haven't typed any code. And so it says, oh, OK, so you want to know if some kind of string or a pill contains something else. So I can pick up that pill from category, which is where we started, and drop it into there. And so if category contains something, so I'll put in musical. And so if category contains musical, then I want to categorize this thing, this data point, as a musical. And so down at the bottom, you're now getting this re-summarizing of your data. And so now you can see here's all the things that were classified as musical. You're starting to get sort of a summary and an overview. And then you can begin to expand it. So you can say, else if It's something else. So I'm just going to sort of skip ahead here because this is the magic of prototypes. And so we'll say, if it contains musical, then it's a musical. If it contains opera, then it's an opera. The problem is that, and this is part of the beauty of having these sort of summaries, this ongoing Tableau prep style drill down, we can look down here and we're seeing that there's only one opera. But this data set goes back to 1900, so there's a lot of operas, so something's going on. And so I can just click on this top level if statement, and it'll show me all the things that are being categorized as musical, and I don't know, that looks okay. Or I can just come down here and say, I just want to pay attention to this lower contains area. And I'm still getting only one data set, and it's showing me that. I mean, it contains opera. That's fine. So maybe I actually want to drill down. So I'm just going to go to this contains. And I'm looking down here, and I'm seeing, well, here are things that have been categorized as musical, but they also have opera in them. And so it turns out that actually what's going on is I actually just have an ordering problem, because anything that is musical is getting picked up in the first round, and there's basically nothing left. So again, without writing any code, I can just pick this up and reorder these things. And now the data is starting to make a little bit more sense. So now I actually have data kind of the way I anticipated breaking things down. And now that I've done all this dragging and dropping, I haven't written any code, I can just roll back, and now the code has been written for me, and now it can be consumed by Tableau. And even when it's in this form, it can still give me a little bit of help as I go through stuff. But basically, just through dragging and dropping, you don't have to be a programmer. You can create all these high-end constructs. So that is Ginger's hack.
All right. Again, I love that. Actually, implementing this would require a fair amount of effort and design work, but I love the idea of having the calc language tell me what it is I can do and show me the data that results from my calculation. Okay, so now we've got a couple of smaller hacks to show you. This hack was done by Caleb Clark, who's a software engineer on our development team. And this hack actually has nothing to do with Tableau. Well, it sort of has something to do with Tableau, but it's more to do with Windows Explorer. So let's see. Let me bring up, here is a directory that has a bunch of different workbooks in it. And let's say I wanted to find a particular workbook here. My boss is looking over my shoulder and breathing down my neck, and I want the budgets viz. And you have to try and find the right viz to click on here, but they all look the same. So one nice thing that you can do because of this hack is, actually let me back up here. Let me actually just create another window. I think that's the easiest way to do this. Go back to, all right, so we're just going to install a little Windows Explorer extension. All right, and go back to our workbooks, and you'll see that now they have changed to actually show you a preview of what the workbook looks like, so you can quickly decide which is the workbook that I'm looking for. And by the way, if you use Tableau on the Mac, you've already got this. It already works this way on the Mac. You can instantly see what your workbook is. This brings Windows up to the same level. And in addition to that, if I happen to click on a particular workbook, over here in the preview pane, it will actually show me what all the different sheets within that workbook look like. Let's see, here's one that has a few different ones. You can see that it goes out and it gets the thumbnails for each of the vizzes, so you can instantly see what it is that you're looking at. So that was a very quick and simple hack, a way to make Windows aware of what Tableau is all about and give you a preview when you're looking at your files. All right, another small hack.
All right, another small hack. So undo is one of the great things of modern software, basically. But it lets you operate in a certain degree of safety, right? So if you change things, you can undo, and you're like, whew, like I'm not committed to that. And so, of course, we have this in Tableau. And it's something that's actually really important to us because we want you to have a sense that you can explore your data. And so, if we go over here and, there we go. But I don't know if you've had this experience, you go through a bunch of things and you want to back up, you have to sort of remember in your head like how many times to hit Control-Z before you're going to get back to where you think you were. And so what's great is that, and this is what Chris did, and it's super simple, but it's one of those beautifully simple yet so powerful things. So I'm going to make just a new plot over here. So I'll put state over on columns. And if you watch in the lower right, it's basically tracking my movements here. So I'll go ahead and put here, food insecurity up there. And then we'll color by something else. And so what's cool is that now it's keeping track, and now I basically have a visual undo stack. I can say, oh yeah, that's where I want to go back to. I'm going to go back to there. Or I'm going to go back to there. But it remembers the redo stack as well. So I can say, no, that was actually really cool. And I'll hit redo, and I'll go back. So you don't have to remember all of your undo stack like in your head. The JPEGs can now be removed from your head into the screen. So that's a simple hack, but I really like it.
Have you ever been to the point where you did a whole bunch of steps and then you all of a sudden panic because half of your data disappears? And the undo button is really great for that, but having a visual undo lets you get back to exactly the version of your viz that you like. So I love that. All right, so let's say the last one that we're going to show you is actually a hack that I did about 6 months ago. I have some background in 3D graphics, and so I was interested in exploring how we could maybe use 3D graphics with Tableau to look at things a little bit differently. So I have a hacked up version of Tableau here, which actually exports to a format we call KML. KML stands for Keystone Markup Language, and it's a markup language that Google Earth uses in order to add information into Google Earth. So let's see, let's go take a look at this viz. So this is a viz, you might have seen this before. This is a visualization of earthquakes, where the size of the mark and the color of the mark indicate the intensity of the earthquake, and the position, of course, indicates where it happened. This is a perfectly good viz. It shows you where a lot of the earthquakes are happening, where you might not want to move if you're worried about earthquakes. But maybe there's a little bit more context that you can gain by viewing this in a different way. So now I'm going to switch over to Google Earth. And we'll zoom out a bit. How many of you have ever used this, by the way? This is a totally cool program. If you ever want to visualize something on a global space, this is a great way to do it. It's free. Just do a search on Google Earth and go load it. It'll fire up, or you can have it in a separate application if you don't want it in a web page. But so I was wondering what would happen if we could look at that same earthquake data on a globe that looks like this instead of a flat map. So what you can do is actually just import this KML file that we just generated as a, whoops, wrong place. I'm going to go here. And we just generated that when we rendered our last viz in Tableau. Now you'll see that those earthquakes are now shown as three-dimensional bars on our globe. And you can actually go zoom in and take a look at them in the context of the globe. Just gives you a different way of looking at your data, so you can look at the intensity of the earthquakes in the context of a nice 3D map. So let me give you another example of where this might be useful. Let's load another viz. So this viz is building permit applications in Seattle. And here the size of the mark represents the dollar amount of the construction that's going to take place. And of course the location is where the building's going to take place. Now we can go back to our Google Earth viz. We can import that same file. By the way, this hacked version of Tableau always just exports KML every time you do a viz, so I didn't have to explicitly do that. Okay, so it's going to add those marks from our viz. Google Earth automatically zooms into where the marks are located. And let's just zoom in a bit so that we can have a look at them. There you can see there's that same data set, the building permits. And now you can actually see those in the context of other buildings that are in the city. You can see what buildings are adjacent to where the building permit was requested. You can see where the more expensive building permits, and everything is in context in 3D with the buildings that are around it. So I'm not sure that most vizzes are great to look at in 3D, but certainly there's an interesting perspective that's gained by trying to look at your data in the context of the 3D world that we live in. And so this was just a hack to try and explore what it would mean to try and look at visualizations in a 3D environment. All right. We got that. And I think that was our last viz that we were going to show, or our last hack that we were going to show you. So here is the link. Hopefully some of these hacks have percolated some interesting ideas for you. Maybe you saw something that somebody hacked on and you would think, oh, if we just tweak that just a little bit, it would be so much better, and then I could use it. We would love to hear about that, and this is the place. And if you have something that's even more urgent and pressing, feel free to come up and talk to us afterwards, and we're happy to take some ideas back with us. But as we said, we pay a lot of attention to our community ideas forum. It may not seem like it, because sometimes some of these ideas are suggested over the course of a couple of years, and it takes us a long time sometimes to get the development into our pipeline and to merge it with other features and to prioritize it properly and actually get it out there. So some things take longer than others. But if you speak up and give us the ideas, I promise we'll pay attention to the idea. Okay, so we are going to have a chance for a Q&A if you have any more questions. But now is your opportunity to actually vote on your favorite viz. This can be the one that you find most useful or most interesting, or the one that you could build off of the most. I'm going to switch us over to a live polling application, and it'll have these same instructions. Basically, if you've got your handy-dandy handheld phone, just pull it out and text Kyle Johns 549 to 37607. It'll send you a nice little message back saying that you have joined, and then you can text the letter of your favorite hack. And let's just switch over. I think I closed our window that had, but I can pull that up here again really quickly.
Yeah, and in the meantime, you know, we've got a little bit of time. We would love to hear ideas. If you have questions, we are completely at your disposal. We are here this whole week for you, and we're here specifically in this room for you. And like, Hackathon is like, it's like Christmas for me. Like comes twice a year. And so, if you've got ideas, we would love to discuss them with you.
Okay, Kyle Johns 549 to 37607. Just to make sure it's working, once you've voted, let me know if you voted and nothing's showing up on the screen, because I can try and reset it.
Yep.
But,
and as we can't promise anything, I would just like to point out that in fact, the PowerPoint hack won this poll last year, and now it's in the product. So we can't promise anything, but we really, really, really listen.
all right. Oh, I don't have the letters there, do I? Oh, I'm sorry. So that's, it's just A, B, C, D, E, F, G from the top. So,
and we know it's matched up.
Yeah, it is. Let me actually, okay, that's why, okay. So now A, B, C, D, E, F, G for each of them, and you can vote on the one that you find most useful.
Oh, Chris will be happy to hear that.
And please vote for the easy ones. We don't want to have to do a lot of extra work here. We have other stuff we got to do, so.
Good stuff. Oh, Oh, the calc editor hacks.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, so many people write calcs. I think if we can make that experience a lot more enjoyable and beautiful and fun, I think everyone will like that. So that's a great idea. That would be a really interesting hack to just bring in another code editor. The problem is it would be hard to teach that editor all about our syntax so that it does the coloring properly.
Yeah, and you know, part of the kind of magic of Tableau, which was, our founder Chris Stolte wrote his PhD thesis about BizQL, where it became BizQL, and really it was this mapping directly from the digital environment to queries. And so a lot of the calcs language is really designed to transform and be able to be optimized into a query environment. And so that's sort of part of it is why the calcs language is like it is, because then we take it and we have like a ton of optimizers which can blow it out to SQL or to all these other different databases that do that kind of thing. And so we sort of have to teach whatever external tool about that stuff. Yeah, there are a lot of people who spend a lot of time and love working on optimizing the transformation from the calcs language into actually like getting an optimized SQL query and that kind of thing. People who know a lot more about like you can get 10% improvement difference by partitioning it this way instead of this way, and yeah.
So, any other questions?
Yeah.
It looks like there's a strong preference for calc editor hacks here. That's good, because a few of those are the super easiest ones. I'm just kind of curious. So the UI thing that we demonstrated was a little bit more involved and would be a lot. How useful is that? Are you all experienced calc editors, and so that you're way beyond that sort of a thing, or would you find it helpful?
For me, the appeal was not the drag and drop into the, like the Legos, I wasn't a fan of. Like, if anything, I would find that a bit confusing.
Yeah.
With, like, when I was training other people in the company, it's like, if anything, I think this is going to make you think about what you're doing next, so I feel like more stuff and everything. But what I loved most of all was the ability to click on a calc within a calc, get that calc window up, and then go back to that one. That would be that would make my job a billion times better.
All right, good enough. Thank you.
Yeah, I totally understand that. When you're trying to understand what's going on with somebody else's viz, and there's a whole bunch of interrelated calcs, having to click around to try and figure it out is super hard. So, and I love that, because it's not that hard, right? I love it. I love things that are a big bang for the buck, right? If we could get a few devs working on something for a few days or a couple of weeks and have a big impact, those are the things that I absolutely love. So we'll take that back with us. What did you think about the prep-like way of being able to kind of see your data and the results of your calc? That was one of the things that I really liked, is to get an idea, is my calc doing the right thing? And you can instantly kind of see what's going on.
Yeah, and what was brilliant about it is just like as you change it, you can go upstream and change it, and then you'll see your viz change, and you're like, oh, I get it now. Like, yeah, it's pretty fun.
All right. Hey, well, thank you for your time. Happy to, oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to add one thing I really liked about the kind of actual calculation writing is you could like if-then statements. It looks like if you put an if, it would show you the nested then.
Yep.
And so if you have that'd be really helpful if you have like a bunch of nested if-then statements. Sometimes you get lost which if corresponding to which then and.
Yep.
So I really like that.
Awesome. Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally. Because we don't really enforce the kind of like indentation necessarily, which sort of gives you that visually. So yeah, some other visual mechanism to do that could be a huge help.
I like that too. Also fairly easy to put in there, so that's really cool. All right, well, thank you for your time today. It's been fun to show these off to you, and hope you have a great rest of your conference.
Yeah, and if you have any other questions,